Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my man Myron.
Oh, folks, what a great week of televised wrestling. We had a great little fun time at a brewery show this Saturday, but I'm ready for some live indie wrestling this weekend. I'm ready for the pay-per-view this weekend. I'm having a great time watching wrestling, and I can't wait to get to see some live wrestling. What are we going to talk about today, Nick? So what do you want to talk about?
Well, lots of stuff, but before we get started, look, I shared as recording, so we're recording on Wednesday, obviously. I released like one of the. It's just something that was, one of the articles that was that was written for Behind the Paywall. It was an NFL bust, 15 bust prior to 2020. I specifically requested that the article be written prior to like 2020 and before, because it's kind of hard to judge bust, that are less than 3 years old. I'm like, that's a tough ask. So, but I wanted people to see a little bit like what's some of the stuff being written behind the paywall, over on our YouTube channel, on Patreon. Both of the handles, YouTube and Patreon, are at Tapped Out Pod, of course. But look, that's why we're like, don't just go to YouTube and when you're watching us, like the page, subscribe, turn your notifications, all that kind of stuff on. But you can become a member behind the paywall there or on Patreon, of course. And get those articles, get the show early, all that cool stuff. I wanted to make sure we got that taken care of before we got started.
Yeah.
Because there's a chunk. Matter of fact, kind of work a little bit out of order. Look, I know you brought up the PLE this weekend. Fastlane's coming. Is it another one of our? It's only like 5 matches at this point.
Yes, it's only like 5 or 6, something like that. 5, yeah, it's 5 matches. They'll probably announce something on Smackdown.
Maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised as hell if they didn't pull something with some NXT stars, as much as they've been loading NXT or promoting NXT or using NXT to put over Raw and SmackDown. It's been crazy. So, I would assume there's probably going to be something SmackDown stuck on it last minute. But this is, I mean, it's a great looking show. Some of these storylines are awesome, and you're really beginning to see who they're putting rockets on. That's what I like to see. That's what I like to see.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, there's several things there that we're looking forward to. So originally, obviously, we knew LA Knight was going to be Cena's partner to wrestle Solo and Jimmy. The whole testing positive kept him off a week, so pretty much delayed it a week. Still liked what they did with it. Great reaction, by the way. Here's one of my questions. Agree or disagree at tappedoutpod or tappedoutpod@gmail.com. I kind of was like, LA Knight's reaction was right up there with Cena's, which is kind of like wild to think about.
You take your Superman representative of the company, Cena, and your 2 bad guys, your real bad guys, and you put your new star that's getting a lot of popularity and push with Cena to fight your 2 bad guys, and bam, there's the push that you wanted for him. He's got his contract. Now you're going to use him.
Actually, and that wasn't done yet, but that's a different story.
I keep hearing it was done, but hell, the thing is, Nick, I will see wrestling news and then 2 weeks later see the same wrestling news being reported as if it's new wrestling news. So wrestling news is worse than Star Wars news. It's got unpredictable. It's got where people are just reporting anything. Well, hold on. How do you report wrestling news anyway? I think it's just opinion. It's just opinions and bullshit. The best thing you could do is just acknowledge its opinions.
Exactly.
And this is our opinions. The coolest part about this is this will be the first time the Usos have been on the same show since everything went sour, right?
Well, since they completely did that split basically when Jay quit.
Yeah.
They haven't been together on the same shit. Yeah. So yeah, I was kind of surprised. So you brought it like Jay's going to be teaming with Cody, and somehow they kind of got thrown together to wrestle Judgment Day for the tag titles. Do they dare take them off of them? Like, I just think, look, we just watched it. They took the NXT North American title off of Dom at No Mercy, and then bam, literally put it right back on him on NXT. I just think they're building Judgment Day to the point that kind of like they did Bloodline for so long, that I think we're going to see them hold a lot of belts for a long time. And
see, that's a really weird situation. It's a very trying situation. You've also got Kevin and Sammy that might work their way into this. I would be willing to wager $5, maybe 10, that they are going to be out there sometime during this match. If they put the belts on Cody and Jay, you've got that more friction with Kevin and Jay, and things causing problems. So you've got this whole story working in the background. Judgment Day's on every show. You think about it, Nick. The Judgment Day works Raw, SmackDown, and NXT now.
But here's the crazy thing: it's because they're the tag champions, which are on both brands, because they're the undisputed. They have both titles, quote unquote.
And I love the way Dominic wears it. Not Dominic, Punishment Martinez. Damian Priest, yes.
Yeah.
A-list.
And then you got Raw, because they have the tag titles, and Rhea's the Raw women's champion, so you have to be on Raw. Dom's the NXT North American champion, so they kind of have to be on NXT. Like, there's a legitimate explanation. I do enjoy the fact there's a legitimate explanation why they're there. And correct, and Priest has the briefcase, so he could cash in on anybody at any time. So they have an excuse why they're everywhere. It's kind of like the Bloodline had the excuse because of the championships when they had them.
Yep. And so that's the way you get over, build. Works great.
So that's just 2 tag matches alone. Then you've got a 6-man with Lashley and the Street Profits and the LWO. Basically, look, this is a vehicle to try to, I think, either build or destroy the Hurt Business thing that they're trying to establish, and either get it elevated or crashed, one of the two. That's just my take.
I'm hoping this is the Street Profits reboot, that they quit calling them the Street Profits, and they quit carrying those damn cups, and they start dressing like Bobby Lashley, and they do something else. Even if Bobby Lashley goes away and they change something, but the Street Profits gimmick is over. I'm sure it probably sold a lot of merch.
It is over. It's over. That's the problem. Yes. It's over.
Well, these guys got to do something. Okay, you got to get them a new solid gimmick. Maybe this is their gimmick forever. Maybe it's not.
I don't know.
And the LWO is a great.
It's a merch mover.
It's a merch mover.
They do have some great talents in there. Like, they're great workers.
Yeah, and you build those talents. You continue to build those talents. You've got a future with those talents.
So let me ask you this. This is an odd one, because I was debating this with somebody before we move on. I wanted to ask you. So Seth is wrestling Nakamura for his world championship. I argued, traditionalists tell you the world title goes on last. But in my argument, I'm like, I could see either one of those tag matches going on last. Cody Jay versus Judgment Day for the titles, Cena LA Knight with Jimmy and Solo. Like, I can see any or of those going on last. And building to, like, because you look, now when this one's over, I think Survivor Series is next, right, for the main roster. Like, how do you get there?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is a last man standing match, Nick. Those are going to take a while. Those typically take a while. That build up on Raw was so incredible, where they had the Nakamura recording counting down every time Nakamura got him, and then Nakamura in the ring counting down. This buildup has been so long. And they've been doing this, Nakamura ambushing him, Nakamura counting the promos with subtitles. I think it has to go on last, don't you think?
Most likely I see it going on last. I just don't know that I would say it has to. And by the way, we're completely overlooking the match, and that's what's terrible. Io, Charlotte, and Asuka in a women's match that we should be absolutely enthralled with, and clearly we're not. I think it's becoming. Here's my issue. Before we move on from this, it's becoming the issue of, I am almost over, like, 3 ways for title matches, like 3-way title matches,
I agree.
especially in the women's divisions.
I'm multi-person matches are getting old. The sticking the multi-person match in the women's division is getting older than anything else. Constantly booking these matches, constantly forcing stuff on us. We have a lot of women's talent. Give them 2 matches on the card. Okay, they have enough good talent to do this. To give them more than this. Look at NXT. Look at what they're doing. They put women's matches on the big cards. They put more women's matches on the cards, in my opinion, than the main shows do. There's no need to have to stick all your women into one match like this. Give them another match. These talents need matches. Put them somewhere else. I mean, I know we've seen Io Sky and Asuka before, but
my argument would be like, it's only 5 matches that I see, and I could be totally wrong, by the way. I've said this twice now. I want to make sure everybody's clear. Why not have, if it's Asuka and Io, the Charlotte and somebody else basically wrestling in a number 1 contenders match, or whatever. I can understand that there's a possibility there that Becky versus somebody was supposed to maybe be on this card, and with not being cleared, maybe that's going to become the issue of why there's not another match here. Maybe it might be last minute if they are cleared, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, because if Becky's cleared to defend the NXT title on there, maybe that's the match you add on. But they just needed the time to see if.
Becky's got that thing where she's promised to defend against this person, then she's promised to defend against this person, and then she's got to do this at Halloween Havoc, and she's not even made it to Halloween Havoc defending all these belts. So, what are we going to do?
We'll find. Time will tell, but I tell you, one of the things that we were curious about what's going to happen is it appears as though with tweets from Jade Cargill, comments made, it looks like, because look, we were all under the thing like Jade Cargill needs to go to NXT. She needs to grow and develop. And it appears as though she's going straight to Raw. I'm not shitting on it yet. I thought she needs some time in the ring, but there is one thing to be said. Bully Ray put out the comparisons to China, and about how and look, they developed China on the main roster. There was no developmental. So I'm not saying it's not impossible. Triple H may have a great game plan for Jade Cargill and just wants her on that main roster because she looks like a such. Because here's the problem. I did think about this. Does she need developmental time? 100%. I still think she can be a force to reckon with on the main roster, and then every other day she's not on TV, she's in the Performance Center working. Because we talk about how stacked the women's division is in NXT. Add her to the mix. If you want her to be a dominant force, is she just going to run through everybody in NXT? I mean, does that help those women?
Well, we're in a spot where they've clearly chosen not to kayfabe it. They've clearly chosen not to use all those names they were trademarking for her. Those actually are going on the new NXT talent. So they're going to call her Jade Cargill. They're going to sign her on ESPN. So if you can't kayfabe it, milk it. Bring her out and sit her at the announce table during this match. Just say, I'm scouting talent. This is not her show. Just say, I'm scouting talent. Have her talking to Michael Cole. Have her talk to some of the other people at the table. That's a big statement at the pay-per-view, because you know what's going to happen that night on ESPN? You know that's going to happen Mondays? That's going to be all over, if we're going to call it legitimate sports journalism. It's going to make waves. Are we going to put her with a faction like we did China, though? Do you think that's wise? Or are we going to leave her by herself?
I did make the joke, if she goes to Raw, put her with Lashley and the Street Profits. Make the Hurt Business, put them back. Because everybody just assumed it was going to be Bianca, would join them but now I think they're talking about like potential with a baby with her or something. So put Jade Cargill in that role, because think about that group now where she's just like muscle, with them. I mean, it's not a bad way to hide her for a little bit and get her, some, training time down at the PC and stuff. Look, I'm still going to stand behind she should be at NXT, in my opinion.
Well, then Bianca, if she comes back after the child, has a rivalry already set up.
I don't know that she's pregnant, by the way. I just heard her.
If
I'd
she's
read somewhere
not,
there's a potential.
when she comes back, she already has a rivalry set up.
Sure, something to that effect. I agree, man. Because look, we discussed the reasons why. Like, look, it's loaded at NXT.
No, it's stuffed. I said it was stuffed. They released all those women. I go to watch it again. It's more stuffed. NXT card last night. This is a Wednesday. I watched last night. Packed. I watched the last NXT No Mercy, which was so cool to see that in Nintendo 64 old No Mercy opening with a player select. Oh, I marked out so hard. It got all of my little things, all my little childhood and my video game obsessions together. So good, WWE. Y'all make me. And then just knowing that the next pay-per-view is Halloween Havoc. Oh man, almost killed the old man right there. But I'm really looking forward to all that they're doing. They've got the women's developmental tournament going on. Probably let some of those people go after that. They had the Gigi Jolin match, which is awesome. They're building the women's tag teams, which are awesome. Where do they put Jade Cargill? Is she going to come out and run through all that division and spoil all of that? I don't think that's a good idea. I really just don't think that's a good idea. Leave her. Maybe it's not for her. There's a lot of people that are staying in NXT for a longer period of time now and doing really well.
I think it's because, you're starting to hear the rumblings of, with Shawn Michaels at the helm, like they quietly, like I think Vince wanted the NXT 2.0, like developmental, like true developmental more than anybody. I think at his heart, Triple H wants like a third brand. He wanted like that pure wrestling brand. Now look, I don't know if we're ever going to get back that, but I think we're starting to push towards that goal again, is getting it back to that old black and gold brand that we had. That Sean's kind of getting it there. I think Nick Khan's probably on board with it because he probably sees there's a potential third brand to sell TV rights to, make more money that way. And I think that's kind of why we're seeing a lot of that. But to the point, though, that we're literally like looking at next week, they fucking dropped they literally backed a dump truck of talent up and just was like, here's next week, folks. Now, listen, we know why, and we're going to get into that reason in a minute. But we find out that John Cena is going to be on NXT. Cody Rhodes is going to be on NXT. Paul Heyman's going to be on NXT. The Judgment Day's every week. I mean, think about that. Becky's there every week. Asuka's coming in. That's what I'm saying. Asuka's coming in next week. Like, I almost kind of was like, is this like Raw and SmackDown light? Like, is like we're literally dumping such, big names on there? And the answer is to, like, why, right? It's everybody. It's funny. The people that don't really watch both promotions or they don't do a lot of the website stuff are kind of like, why in the world are they dumping that? Look, over the last few weeks, we addressed the push for the ratings going into the TV rights negotiations, why it was so important and so key to get those NXT ratings up and up and up and up, literally to the point that we were like, dude, and then we addressed it. They were getting scary close to Dynamite numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Then we find out, by the way, baseball season starts. I always feel bad about shows getting bumped around, whether it's AEW, WWE, NXT, doesn't matter. I hate it when shows get moved from their nights and their times because it just kind of creates all kinds of an issue.
And this is first round playoffs, right?
It's baseball playoffs, from my understanding. That's what it got pushed to Tuesdays for. AEW is going to do Title Tuesday. By the way, they've got a big debut, which we'll address in a minute, for television. That'll be on there. But it's clearly like, look, they're loading NXT up to compete, to go, because now we're going to have a head-to-head Tuesday with AEW's Dynamite move to Tuesday and NXT in its regular place. We could load it up, talk about everything that's going to be on the two shows. I wanted to talk about something just from a perspective. Clearly, Triple H wants a win. He wants a head-to-head win with NXT versus Dynamite.
Whew. This is big business, Nick. This is big business. I mean, we're at a point where with them not running head to head, we're seriously talking about getting near 1 million on NXT. That's a value. That's not a, NXT was a value added prospect where you could add it to your rights negotiations. Now it's going to, like you said, it's going to be a third brand you can actually sell, especially since it's, right up there with Dynamite. So now we're going to run it against Dynamite on a night. And if they crush Dynamite or they do better than Dynamite, that's going to be very competitive. Now, one thing I got to give Dynamite fans is AEW fans, let's be honest here, tend to be a little bit more well-read and study their product very well. So they'll know when it's going to be on. They'll know it's going to be on Tuesday night. They won't be Jeff Mooneying like a lot of the WWE fans. Where's my wrestling? Where's my wrestling? Where did it go? I would think the average AEW fan will know it's going to be on Tuesday night. The average WWE fan might not know if WWE had to change a night. Average AEW fan, I think, would be a little bit smarter.
There's more casuals with the WWE product, so yeah, they can just, and they're more creatures of habit watching also than the people, like I said, your diehard internet fan that watches AEW more likely is aware. That is correct. The question becomes, I'm a big football fan, and going into every week, it's always like, who needs this win more? Like, who needs this win more? So I started coming at this Title Tuesday, loaded NXT head to head. Who needs it more? I would love to know what the listeners think at tappedoutpod, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Who's your opinion? And I'll share you mine. Who needs the, because we all know what we think about this whole ratings thing in general, but who needs the win more, Myron? Just for content purposes, who needs the win more, Dynamite or NXT?
Okay, you know good and damn well we're going to have to wait next week to record until we get the ratings in.
No, we won't.
Nick,
it's not going to happen, dude. I have stuff to do.
Yeah. This podcast is the most important thing in the world, man.
I completely disagree. Sorry, folks. I know most people think it is. That is not true.
It is to me. AEW needs to win. They really need to go head to head against WWE and kick them right in the dick, and they need to beat them by 200,000 people.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm telling you what they need to do. I'm not telling you what's going to happen.
I don't think they're going to beat them by 200,000. Let me rephrase that. I think that. Go ahead, finish your thought, then I'll share mine.
I think they need to beat them by 200,000 people. Maybe it's just a goodwill gesture. Maybe it's just a, we beat them by 200,000 people gesture. That would be better for their motivation, better for their just their feel goods. Okay, I can't come up with the right word. That would make them feel really good. That would be better for everybody at AEW if they could beat them by 200,000. But they're not going to.
I think here's your problem. Had WWE just ran a regular NXT show, I wouldn't share this opinion. When they loaded that many people, Cody, Cena, Heyman, whatever, all of the pressure, by the way, is on NXT to win. All of it. They need a win more than AEW does, because AEW, by the way, for the record, has the built-in excuse it's not their normal night. So their argument was, it's a different night, our fans didn't move over. They've got the built-in excuse. If NXT doesn't get a ratings head-to-head win, and you put, Asuka, we've rattled it off. Cena, Cody, Heyman, Judgment Day, all of that goes on NXT, and you lose head-to-head. But here's where it's going to get tricky. This is where Nick throws in the caveats. I think Cody's segment wins. I think Cena's segment wins. But I think AEW could possibly win the overall 2 hours. Does that make sense?
I really don't know if they're going to put a segment on that's going to be weak. I don't know if they're going to put a segment on that's not going to have somebody or not going to have something amazing. I think the segments are going to go to their number one people, and either
Who's they? Who are we, AEW or?
No, I think WWE is going to take their NXT and either give it to their number one guys and girls, or their number one guys and girls versus WWE talent. They're going to put their people in spots to excel.
Look, Cody's just talking. That's all he's doing. He says it. He said that's all he's doing.
The Judgment Day is going to come out after him.
Well, that'll be post the pay-per-view, so they won't need to. The only way is if they take the titles. If they take the titles, maybe. Cena's going to be in a corner of a guy, so that that'll be that. Here's the kind of coming back to my point. AEW, I think they need the win to continue the momentum. Like, they've got a little momentum going right now, and I think they need the win, although they have the out if they don't win. That's the issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Look, because they've got all this momentum, because let's go ahead and let's get to what everybody wanted. It's the thumbnail that everybody looked at to come into the show. Edge, Adam Copeland, we'll start calling him Adam,
Adam Edge.
Adam, the artist formerly known as Edge.
I've been saying Adam so much, I've been putting it on everybody's name lately.
He debuts at WrestleDream really fast. I get it, because we're not going to go down the WrestleDream, because the main takeaway of the whole show was, I'm going to give you my review of WrestleDream. Very good matches, very solid, good variation, and you walked out of there. The big thing you're going to remember 3 years from now is it's the night that Adam Copeland debuted. No, look, it's not a knock.
No, you're right. You're right. You're 100% right. As wrestling fans and as human beings, you're always going to focus on that. You're going to remember your big pop.
When I judge pay-per-views and things like that, that's like even Manias. Everybody's like, oh, it was the match of the night. Okay, but tell me what I'm going to remember 3 years from now, 5 years from now. That's what matters. So what's going to come out of WrestleDream was that Adam Copeland debuted. A lot of people get into look, everybody's like, why jump? Look, it's come out at this point. We're not giving away any secrets. It's why jump? He wanted to go work with his buddy Jay. He wanted to be a full-time wrestler. He didn't want to be a part-time guy anymore. Okay. By the way, I commend all the above.
Yeah.
I want to go work with my friends. All right. I'm all for that. I want to work all the time. I want to, I don't understand all that. Now, if you're going to make that's if
I can get a part-time gig with my buddies,
paying full-time money, I'm in.
Instead of a part-time gig over there with a bunch of young guys. And okay, here's the funniest thing ever. This is my what I've seen about wrestling hypocrisy. The other day, everybody's saying WB, all they do is push the old guys, and then Edge signs with AEW, and then we get WWE, all they do is mistreat their old guys because they push the young guys. Wrestling people can't be happy even when their guys are succeeding and going to wrestle some more. Be happy for all wrestlers, people. If they're working and out there and doing something, and you're getting to watch them, and they're healthy, be happy for them. Even if they're retired healthy, be happy for them. Go to conventions, pay them some money, get an autograph. Talk to them. They're people too. They're not just idols and stuff. They're human beings just like you. Wish for the best for them.
Yeah.
Even if it means they're going to be on a different night of television.
He brought up the whole why he thinks it's ridiculous about hating what he loves WWE. Listen, for all of you, anything you negatively want to say, if you're a fan of Adam Copeland, you completely have the WWE to thank for that. because it's the only place he's ever worked, and they helped. Everybody's going to say, like, no, he did. No, the machine helped make him the superstar he is. The Rated R went at that. They made him the superstar that he is.
I've never understood hating the machine but loving the product. You know?
I don't even think it's that. Even like this guy got over. He did not get over on his own. I'm not saying he didn't have a huge part of it, but especially people in the WWE typically, you know, like there's a rare exception. Like somebody's like, oh, what about Daniel Bryan? Okay, he got over, but still, at some point they chose to push him. If they didn't want him to be the top, they could have just took him off TV and he wouldn't have been on top.
Well, you can be the best quarterback in the world, but if you've got a really bad offensive line, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And these guys are basically in the pocket ready to pass. If they've got a strong offensive line or a strong promotion in front of them, protecting them and putting them in the spots they need, they're going to succeed faster than a guy that's got nothing with the same amount of talent. It's just a bait. It's all about being in the right place at the right time with the right company, the right people. It's
lots of times it's lightning in a bottle. I agree.
Yes.
Which, like, you know, and then like I said, so now he's made his money. He's a Hall of Famer. You know, it's like, so why jump, right? Well, let's go work with Uncle Jay. That's what he said. You know, his kids were like, hey, you should go work with Uncle Jay. Christian signed a new deal a while back. He wasn't coming back to WWE anytime soon. I assumed Adam Copeland wants his last match to be versus Christian. It would make total sense to me. So he's got to go over there to make it happen. He wants to work with, like, you know, it's something that I didn't think about. When he rattled off at the media scrum, he rattled off names of guys he wanted to work with. Like, he was saying, like, Samoa Joe, John Moxley, and stuff. And I'm sitting there going, oh, shit, that's right. He was out.
Yeah.
When those guys were coming through WWE, he was gone, and he came back later on. So there's a whole slew of guys he never worked with that you just kind of think, in your brain, you might think he did, but he never did because he was gone that whole time. So I guess that's now the question is, now what? Because that's always, you know, one of my favorite questions. Then what? Now what? He's going to work a full-time schedule. He's going to be, you know, we brought up he's going to be on, that's his debut on Title Tuesday, head-to-head with the NXT. You know, that's
part of that's a hard one to follow. That's a really hard one to follow because all the people WWE are bringing in are active talents that they've been using. And he's the new guy. He's the exciting guy. It might be tough to beat that, Nick. So
no, I think that's one of the big pluses they had. When I said, I think you could have segments where NXT wins, but they could lose the 2 hour average. Could be a situation because I think they're going to be relatively close, and that's just my opinion. But another opinion that I wanted to share: Jade Cargill, she leaves and goes to WWE. Adam Copeland goes to AEW. I think we're going to, and I have a lot of logical reasons why I think we're about to go into a free agent era, easy for me to say, where we're going to see people going both ways. I think you're going to have people going WWE to AEW, AEW to WWE for lots of reasons. Well, one of them is simple. A lot of the initial contracts for AEW are coming up. When they come up, now there's a little motivation to go from one to the other. WWE talents, we discussed this a little bit off air. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but there are guys who want to be wrestlers. There's I've said Brian Danielson is 100% where he needs to be because he wanted to wrestle. He didn't want to be a sports entertainer. He didn't want to be an entertainer. He wanted to be a wrestler. AEW is the absolute perfect home for him, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Edge clearly wants to wrestle more. WWE, from a safety protocol standpoint, I think wanted him to only be a part-time guy. He wants to wrestle and contribute every week.
And also, they didn't need him as much. They had they had plenty of talent. They were stocked up, and they didn't need a big draw like him.
Here's my take on that. He's a Hall of Famer. He's an attraction at that point. You shouldn't be now. Rey Mysterio's a Hall of Famer. They're still trotting him out there pretty much every week. But so that's why I think there's a little more to the health situation, the health protocol. Is why I think that's what they did to Bryan Danielson. Hey, we don't want you as a full-time guy. I think Bryan Danielson moving over was kind of a segue for eventually for Adam Copeland to move over, because they both saw the fact, I'm only going to be an attraction part-time in WWE, and I want to be a wrestler. I want to wrestle all the time. I want to be a full-time wrestler in AEW. So there's a clear gateway from I want to be a wrestler. I dreamed of growing up to be a wrestler. That pathway goes from WWE to AEW. The reverse door swings the other direction with somebody like Jade Cargill, who says, I want to be a superstar. Whether that's on TV, modeling, wrestling, I don't give a shit. I want to be a superstar and I want to make money. That door swings. I'm in AEW. I'm going to go to WWE because it's not and this is where I pushed back a little before we recorded with you. Wrestling people need to get out of their own heads. Making a move from AEW to WWE isn't just wrestling anymore. It's I want to act. I want to do commercials. I want to do all of these other things other than wrestling. Endeavor is your pathway to an easier route of doing those things. That's why you go to WWE now. It's more than just wrestling.
What was the Dusty Rhodes quote? We make major motion pictures and sitcoms.
Yeah.
It's the best place to be if you want to do something more. It's the look at John Cena in every movie there is. These people are getting over on a huge basis. These people look at Batista. Look at these people that they're using all the time. These people are in television shows, contracts, endorsement deals, something that AEW really couldn't offer these guys. Now it's not anything against AEW, but we're looking at a media giant that's been around since the beginning of time, combined with the fact that they just merged with TKO or merged with MMA to become TKO, which is even bigger, just a bigger giant. So it's a lot we got working on here, man. It's crazy. It's much bigger than anything we ever thought of before. And I never saw wrestling getting this big.
The last parting shot to this, the larger paydays necessarily won't always be from the WWE side.
No.
That's so if you're chasing a check at times, I also think that especially for somebody like Edge, Adam Copeland, I think there was more money for him in AEW than there was in WWE at this point, because WWE TKO looks at him as a part-time wrestler and it's like, hey, we need to make sure we're getting our money's worth out of him. And if he's only wrestling 3 times a year, 4 times a year, $1.5 million, $2 million ain't cutting it. It needs to be a little bit less. So Tony Khan can say, I'm going to pay him $2 million because I'm going to use him full time, which is what he wants to do anyway. So it makes sense for him to make that move. So
well, you said it about Dolph Ziggler. They were paying him $1.5 million, and TKO may not have really thought he was worth that, so they might bring him back at half of that.
They might bring him at $1 million, $750,000. He may go somewhere else. I don't know, but I think they see the value of the talent. I just said I think the days of old, of Vince going, I like a guy, so he's going to pay him a little bit more. I don't know that those days are there much anymore. I think they got to be a little more business savvy when it comes to negotiating deals and things like that. So that's kind of why I'm clearly down that road. Well, hey, look, that's all the national stuff because we got a big weekend ahead of us. Before we get into that, I wanted to run something to see where we're going to be Friday night.
Attention wrestling fans, come celebrate our 5th anniversary Friday, October 6th as Southern Honor Wrestling presents Still Here 5. The Southern Honor Championship will be on the line as Judas defends his title against the 2023 Rumble Jack winner David Ali. Hierarchy puts their SHW Tag Team titles up for grabs in a triple threat tag team match. The Jake the Snake Legacy Championship will be defended as Chip Day takes on 5 other competitors in a 6-man challenge. Also on the line, Kenzie Page defends her NWA World Women's Championship against against Danny Jordan. And the Atrocity Cruel defends his IWTV Independent Wrestling World Championship against Cyrus the Destroyer. Plus, be sure to arrive early for a special meet and greet with three-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion and WWE Hall of Famer Diamond Dallas Page. Tickets start at just $15 and go on sale at the Action Building the night of the show beginning at 5 p.m. Doors open at 7, bell time at 8. As always, kids 10 and under are free. Come witness firsthand why we are SHW and this is our wrestling.
That's right, man. We're going to be up in Canton at the Action Building in right there in Canton, man. Still Here 5.
5 years.
5-year anniversary show.
Wow. 5 years. That's awesome. Those people have worked so hard and put out so much good content. Man. So much great wrestling this weekend, Nick. So much great wrestling.
Oh, yeah. Starting there, Friday, David Ali returns. Michael Judas says, that's going to be a crush. I mean, look, Ali's first time, that long run he had, that's who he beat.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a betting man, yeah, he might have his number. We're going to find out. That's for sure. Look, man, there's the Southern Honor title's on the line. The IWTV title is on the line with Cruel versus Cyrus. The NWA women's title is going to be on the line. Kenzie Paige Henry versus Danny Jordan.
I'm excited about that one.
Yeah.
Major.
Oh, we're going to go through them a little more. I'm trying to get a quick rundown here. The tag team titles are going to be on the line. All-Star Special, Exotic Youth, and the Hierarchy at a three-way for the tag team titles. Listen to this one. Chip Day is defending the Jake the Snake Legacy title. Shoot Taylor, Najasism, Kyle Matthews, Owen Knight, Kenway, and Chip Day.
Ooh, that's a lot of talent.
Total chaos is what that one's going to be.
Yeah.
Then, look, Nathan Mowry and Sunny Days. No DQ. I cannot wait to see the pain that these two are going to put each other through. It's going to be a bloody mess. It's got to be. So
I'm just going to bring some super glue to hand to them so they can glue themselves back up.
Right.
God.
And then, on top of that, I saw Gary Lamb put out there, bold prediction. And then I said, I don't know that it's really a big, bold prediction. He puts out that Corey Hollis versus Nick Halen's probably the match of the night. Well, let's see. You have one of the most I tell you, Corey Hollis is one of the most solid talents around and has been for a long time.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And he's wrestling the guy that we always tell you, and by the way, a bunch of voters did too. Best wrestler, in the state of Georgia, Nick Halen.
Yeah.
It's kind of like hard to think that that's not going to be match of the night, right?
I would have a trouble arguing with you on that.
That's
could not
correct.
fight you. Could not fight you on that.
So that's one I'm personally looking forward to. I don't know what Todd Sexton's thinking, like going into his match with Gunnar Miller. Todd's great. Don't get me wrong. Todd's super talented.
Todd is a genius, an evil genius when he wants to be. Gunner's so damn amazing though. Gunner is a prototype. Okay. I can't give anybody an advantage. It's like some kind of cartoon villain and hero type thing. So it's going to be a tough one on this.
I think it's going to boil down to one thing. Can Gunnar Miller buzzsaw through, or is Todd Sexton going to dip into his bag of tricks, and can he methodically break him down with his technical abilities and get a win? That's what that one's going to boil down to.
I think Todd probably has the biggest bag of tricks in Georgia.
Could be.
Maybe the Southeast.
Yeah. Movie Mike, Ashton Starr. That one's going to be phenomenal. And we're going to come back to Ashton Starr in a little bit. Those two have had a long-going feud for month after month after month. This thing's been going on, and I think Ashton's ready to get rid of his movie problem with Movie Mike. I'm gonna surprise you, and I'm gonna do something we don't normally do. For a 5-year anniversary show, I'm gonna surprise you. No long, lengthy explanations. You get a quick hit, nothing long. Pick me your winners: David Ali and Judas.
Judas, I mean, honestly, I love Ali, but it's a casket match, and Ali lives in Chicago. That's just that's a sad pick, but that's a realistic pick.
Judas should be the NWA World's Champion by now.
Yes.
But I'm going David Ali. I think David might be his Achilles, and that he's got his number. Cruel versus Cyrus for the IWTV World Heavyweight Championship.
The fans will be the only winner in that match.
I love Cyrus. Everybody knows I love Cyrus. The problem right now is the Monster Cruel just seems to be unstoppable.
He's on a tear.
Somebody's gonna have to prove me wrong. Cruel is one of those like if I'm a betting man, which somebody has told me I am. If I'm a betting man, Cruel's that sports team that I'm just gonna keep laying money on until I get burned. So without fail, I'm throwing money down on Cruel. So that's my pick. Danny versus Kenzie Page for the NWA Women's Champion.
God, I have to be smart. I have to keep picking these like a smart wrestling fan.
No,
I hate being a smart wrestling fan. But the thing is on this, they're not going to let Kenzie drop the NWA Championship. That's just the way it is. Now Danny's going to beat the hell out of her. Danny's going to win the match, but Kenzie's going to retain probably on a disqualification.
I would love nothing more than to see Danny Jordan win the championship. Surprise me. That's who my pick is. All-Star Special, the Hierarchy, and the Exotic Youth triple threat for the tag titles.
Exotic Youth. They've got the numbers advantage.
They don't. You keep forgetting. All-Star has they have J2 Strong.
Oh, I forget about that J2 Strong guy.
You don't sleep on J2 Strong, man. He's a stud. He's a pledge. He's he's almost a full All-Star.
Yeah, well, you forget he's always working the merch table. You know.
So in that match, he won't be. If I'm a betting man, he's going to be at ringside because if there's 3 Exotic Youth members there, he'll be there and help. Which I think, crazy enough, puts the Hierarchy at a disadvantage because if the other teams both have somebody else out there. I'm super torn. If you're going to go Exotic Youth, I'm going All-Star Special. I think we get to sing along afterwards. I really lean Exotic Youth, but I'm going to go All-Star. That's who I think pulls it off. I think they're due to get gold back here in Southern Honor, so I'm going to go them. Listen, I love all parties involved here. Shoot Taylor, Najicism, Kyle Matthews, Owen Knight, Kenway. But I'm gonna go first. There ain't no way. Chip, just look, I've said it before, just put all the belts on Chip Day, right? Chip Day walks out. Yeah, I agree, 110%. Nathan and Sonny. I love Nathan. I really do. I just think Sonny has been in I think he's a little more devious. I just think he's willing to go. Let me back up. I don't think he's willing to go places Nathan won't go because we've seen Nathan in some of those matches go pretty crazy. I just think Sonny, for some reason, I'm gonna lay my money on Sonny Days.
I have horribly mixed feelings about this, Nick, and I don't even know. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to watch this. I may have to go outside or something. These are 2 people I really, really, really like. And they're going to be doing such horrible things to each other. And it's going to be a lot of blood and stuff. And I don't like that kind of wrestling, I'll be honest. And it might be one of those things where I just can't do it. So I may step outside while this match is going on. So I can't pick a winner.
I'll never, look, Corey Hollis, Nick Kalen. I'll never bet against Nick Kalen.
No.
Same thing. I'm going Nick Kalen. Here's my gambling statistic with Nick Kalen. If you always bet Nick Kalen, in the long run you'll be ahead. You might lose 1 or 2 along the way, but in the long run you'll always be ahead.
Yes.
Todd versus Gunner. Todd Sexton versus Gunner Miller. Look.
Todd Sexton.
I'm going Gunner Miller.
I can't. I always got to bet on evil. Evil Todd is the best Todd.
All right. And then movie Mike, Ashton Starr. Who you got?
I got to go with Starr, man. Starr's been one of my favorites ever since we started doing this. He's so cool, nicest guy in the world. So I got to give him that, and he's got some of the best gear, some of the best merch. So
yeah. Well, speaking of, like, I'm going Ashton Starr as my pick all the way to the point. Yes, folks, Pro Wrestling Tees shirt of the week this week is Ashton Starr. Everybody knows I'm a big comic book guy. Absolutely love the shirt. Go over to Pro Wrestling Tees. Links in the description. Pick up one of the shirts. While you're there, hey, there's nothing wrong with picking up one of ours, right? Doesn't hurt. So pick up a shirt or two while you're there. And look, Ashton's got like several shirts on there. That's not the only one. He's got several on there. He's even got one of my favorite old shirts. He's still got the Overkill shirt with Zicky and Danny and him and Carly and David on there. Still on there, so you can grab one of those shirts. So yeah, check him out over there, Ashton Starr on the Pro Wrestling Tees. Now go ahead.
Now hold on one second. Do you sell comic books, Nick?
I do.
Where at?
I mean, I have an eBay store, Tapped Out Collectibles. Check it out, 100%. It's still moving on there. I've actually got some coming. I picked up some more, so got to get some. Got some sent off for grading last week. I mean, it's just the whole nonstop process, So every day, always be selling, whether it's life insurance or comic books, man. But listen, somebody that's all. If you want me to sell, I got 2 more things before we get into what we're going to be on Saturday. jmartinandcompany.com, pressure washing, window cleaning, residential, commercial. They do driveways, and they do rooftops, gutters, all that stuff. Check them out, J Martin and Company. They're on Facebook as well. If you want to check them out, reach out to them on there. It's the easiest way I found to get a hold of them. But jmartinandcompany.com. Did my driveway, did my house, and I've said it. Look, I said it last week. I say it again. I had them take care of my mother-in-law's house. They took great care of her. And if you let them take care of your mother-in-law, that speaks volumes on how much you trust them. And I wouldn't trust my pressure washing my house with anybody but J Martin and Company. So anyway, check them out. Great people, good people. Very happy to be doing business with them. Speaking of business, man, Saturday night business picks up. I actually heard in a message, I'm not going to put it out there, we might actually have a friend meet us at the Southern Fried Show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I hardly ever get to see him.
Yeah.
Close personal friend of ours. I think he's going to enjoy the show a lot.
I told him, I talked to him and said, man, you got to come over and check that out. That'll be a blast. Main event, Southern Fried Championship Wrestling, right there, 405 Community Court in Monroe, Georgia, at the Boys and Girls Club. Judias, Hunter James, CT Keys, triple threat for the Southern Fried Heavyweight Championship. Dude, we're not gonna go through the whole card. We're gonna do the picks. We're gonna do picks on these 2. I'm gonna put you on the spot, and I'm gonna probably stun you as we go through with some of these.
Okay.
Who you got?
Which match?
Judas, Hunter, and CD Keys. Triple threat.
Little Ric Flair.
You going Hunter James?
Yeah. He's too evil. I mean, seriously. He's killing it. I can't bet against him. I just can't. Especially because he's got Tristan with him.
That's there you go. Hunter James.
Intangibles.
It ain't intangible. Intangible is like that. Tangible is that he's got that little outside the ring that'll freaking cheat. That's why he'll win. He's not above cheating, and his manager's not above cheating. So, I
mean, Judas and CT Keys are 2 of the baddest motherfuckers in wrestling around here and at the NWA. So that's a tough one. But
pause. CT Keys 100% is a bad sumbitch. Why he's not on more shows? I'm going to repeat this, by the way, until I see this change on posters.
I've seen him on one other show, but I think, like you're saying, we should see him at least on every other poster that gets posted within maybe 100 miles.
Yeah.
Of the Metro Atlanta area.
don't be cheap and don't be afraid to book talent. Book CT Keys. Now finish your train of thought. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just can't bet against Hunter James, though, man. I just can't.
He may be the annoying little prick that we always say he is, but I think he walks out of Crossroads still the Southern Fried Heavyweight Championship. Happy Madness versus the Grapplers.
Oh, I'm going heel again. I'm going heel again. I love the Grapplers. I just can't go against them, man. I love Happy Madness, but the Grapplers are that old school tag team. They got the evilest manager with his tennis racket, Seabolt. I gotta stick with that, man. I can't help it.
Well, I'm good. Look, quietly behind the scenes, I can't tell you what I mean by this translation. Happy Madness has took 2 losses in consecutive weeks at my hands, so therefore I need them to pick up a W. They're going to win, and they are going to retain the Southern. I'll explain to you off air.
You're playing fantasy football, ain't you?
Correct. Southern Fried Tag Team Champion. Technically, I should be your Southern Fried Tag Team Champions right now, but we're gonna let it. I'm still gonna say they're gonna hold on to them, and they will defeat the Grapplers, and so they'll be your champions. Classics title: Nick Kalen, Adrian Hawkins, Kenway, and Tyler Stevens. See, like wash, rinse, repeat from my Southern Honor comment. I'll always put my money on Nick Kalen, and I will, in the long run, I will be more right than wrong. So I'm still going to go Nick Kalen to retain and be your Classics champion. However, super impressed, by the way, that the youngster, Tyler Stevens, is starting to ascend cards. He's got that look. He's going to fill in even more. I think he's going to be. Yeah. There's a lot of pluses for him down the road. I see a lot of positives for him.
I agree, but I'm Adrian Hawkins is hot as hell right now. He's got his push going. He's a fan favorite after all this stuff that's been going on. I'm going with Adrian Hawkins. I don't think that there's any way he loses this.
I would agree with you most of the time, but he's wrestling Nick Kalen, so I disagree. So, Brooklyn and Crystal Rose versus Jazzy Yang and Kat. Listen, 2 of our 3 favorite, what we consider the top tier in women's wrestling are on one team.
Yeah,
I don't think that team can lose.
No, I will always bet on Crystal Rose. That's just end of story. And I adore Brooklyn Creed. Not in any way inappropriate, Logan. Please don't cut me.
But
I think she's one of the most. She does the best job of manipulating crowds.
We talked about it. What's it? A couple weeks ago, week or 2 ago, whatever it was. My brain's jello sometimes. We sit there and said the top tier, the cream of the crop for women's wrestling in the state of Georgia. Crystal Rose, Brooklyn Creed, and Danny Jordan. Like that was our top 3, right?
Yes.
Go back and listen to the show if you want to have a caveat. You can't. I always joke with people, unless you heard the whole conversation, don't jump in on the conversation. So go back through the archives and find it. That's our 3. 2 of the 3, are on a team. We'd be idiots if we didn't pick them as our winners. That's all I could say about that. David Ali's coming in. He's going to wrestle Xavier Reyes. We got to see him, which we'll quickly recap some of that before we get out of here about where we were this past weekend. But I look, Xavier Reyes is a stud. He's an athlete. He's a stud.
Yeah.
But I'm still going to go back to David Ali's. He's my guy. I'll always be a David Ali guy, and so there's no way I can go against him in this match. So
fair enough.
The Approved versus Jacob Athworth and Jaden Vane.
It's impossible to pull against David.
Jacob.
My brain. Sorry, I got to restart everything. It's impossible to pull against Jacob Ashworth at Southern Fried. That's the dumbest bet you can make. But the Approved is an established tag team.
They
work well together.
Well, for the most part, I should say they're a well-oiled machine. They've had some hiccups in the last few shows, but I think they'll
not this
right
version. So I got to go with the Approved on this one.
Yeah. Danny Only versus Alexander Lev in a grudge match.
Lev's in his head. Lev is in his head.
Look, lots of stuff I love. I love nothing. Like Danny Only entertains the shit out of me. but you're right. I think mentally Alexander Lev has gotten inside of his head. He's going to have him a little bit off, and that's why the kid picks up a win. He's
incredibly talented. He's got a spot right now.
Nobody's working it. You're not working the show if you're not talented.
No.
But it's all relative, like who you're in the ring with and stuff like that. Like anybody that I didn't pick to win doesn't mean that they're not talented. But I think he's played mind games for weeks upon weeks and maybe even into months, to the point that's why I think he's in his head, and I think that's why he can pick up the win here. Seth delay versus Narcissism. Naj is another guy that everybody, I think, stature and completely overlooks him. And I'm like, you're nuts. The guy does shit in the ring that's just amazing.
This is, you talk about the Daniel Bryan match that at WrestleDream. This is going to be a lot like that. This is going to be a technical masterpiece. This match right here is just going to be on. This is going to be a joy to watch. Once again, I can't pick a winner. I don't have enough experience watching Seth delay. He was a little bit out of the frame as far as when we started watching wrestling in Georgia. And I really am looking forward to seeing who wins this match. Probably going to be the best match on the card. So we'll see how that goes.
Could be. Yeah, I'm looking at the card. You could be right by that comment. But I'm just hands down, I'm not betting against Narcissism. I think those days have long come and gone.
Yeah.
He's so talented. So anyway, that's this weekend. Friday night in Canton, Saturday night in Monroe, Still Here 5 at Southern Honor, Crossroads at Southern Fried. Make sure you're at both of those shows. Check them out. Find them on social media. Look, Action Building, Canton, Georgia, Southern Honor, 405 Community Court, Southern Fried Championship Wrestling Crossroads. Make sure you're there. Before we get out of here, look, we don't do a lot of brewery shows. That's just kind of not our thing, especially during the summer. If you run something outside in the summer, the odds are you're going to be hard-pressed to get me there because I don't like the heat.
I don't like sweating. I'm fat. And even when I did drink, I didn't drink any kind of craft beer.
Right.
Because I can turn it into farts and bad piss within like 35 seconds. Okay? It's just not for me. I don't think it tastes good. I'm a very light, casual beer drinker. So it's not my typical thing. But apparently there are brewery shows are becoming better and better and better in Georgia. And we had a very good time at one on Saturday. And I'm beginning to think these are something we're going to have to look into more.
It was very enjoyable, and that's the thing. It was outside, but it was cool enough. It had cooled off. It was wrestling at Southern.
Yes.
They do
right
shows
by in my hometown, Sugar Hill.
This particular show was in Sugar Hill. They run frequently in Athens. They talked about Commerce. They talked about a few others that are around. So give them a follow on social media, Wrestling at Southern. And look, we'll try to share some more of their stuff. I saw some great shows they've got coming up.
Got the wives loaded. They enjoyed the show. Got a couple of cocktails in them. Sugar Hill's a great place to go see a show. They did a very good job. Nice crowd. Probably about 300 people out watching the show in the pleasant weather with a little bit of sun. But it was fun atmosphere. It was a Hispanic Heritage Month, and had Hispanic Heritage Month. And it was a lot of people having fun. It was a lot of kids having fun. I think it was a good introductory thing, when you don't have to, there's no admission fee. People just wandering around and wandering up, parents and their kids seeing wrestling for the first time. You might have watched, Raw or Smackdown once or twice, but then you get to see it in person and you get behind these talents. You get the feeling, because human nature brings you into wrestling. You get caught up with the talents and the violence and all that. And Xavier Reyes and Barry Morales put on a phenomenal match.
Yeah,
they had some really good talents on the show. I enjoyed it. I recommend anytime you see one of these things outside, go out and try it out.
Yeah.
Folks. A lot of
Check
fun.
them out. Wrestling at Southern. I mean, like I said, it was
My next
really
goal was
entertaining.
one of those. Was it Das barbecue shows that Deep
The
South?
Deep South
Yeah.
is our next target that we definitely want to get out. I mean, they've got Skrilla on top.
Yeah.
I mean, we're big fans of Skrilla. He's the man. So we definitely got to get down there and check one of those out as well. But look, we're almost out of time. So before we get out of here, we also want to make sure we're always telling you every week, youtube.com. Make sure, because look, if you're a video watcher, that's where you're going to find us. YouTube.com. Our handle's at Tapped Out Pod, or you can just search Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, Tapped Out Podcast Network. Or if you're if you're more of a podcast listener, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, you name it, anywhere and everywhere. We're all over the place on those. And man, I don't know if you caught the top 5. So I did some digging last week. I saw something that's super unique, and that to the point that it happened 2 weeks in a row. The first week, I didn't acknowledge it. But 2 weeks kind of like threw up a little thing to me to say, Nick, you got to bring this up. The United Kingdom was the number 1 country 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, I just said it. The United Kingdom was number 1 2 weeks in a row. More views and downloads from the United Kingdom than any other country on the planet. We're going to see if it goes into week 3, because are you telling me there are more people in the in the UK listening? That just blows my mind.
Well, I mean, if anyone wants to contact me about that and explain to it, or if we've got any fans over there that want to talk to me, I would be more than willing to listen to you and hear what you have to say about that. I am fascinated by it. Also fascinated if you've got any wrestlers you would be interested. I have always loved William Regal. I mean, let's just expose my inability to understand English wrestling. And wasn't Adrian Street from over somewhere else? Was that Wales or England?
So look, I just thought it was unique. I thought I was going to throw it out there and be like, look, we appreciate any from whomever, wherever, whenever.
I'm down,
you're
man.
Watching.
I love you all.
If you think we're in the United States, based right outside of Atlanta, Georgia. If you think you're the farthest person listening, tappedoutpod@gmail.com, at tappedoutpod on all social media. I'm just curious, like, who's the farthest person? I kind of know because it tracks statistics, but I wanted like a name, like I'm the farthest one from you. Like, tell us where you're from. That just intrigues me to no end. So
I love hearing from listeners. I love hearing from listeners. I love hearing, if you got anything interesting, send it to me, talk to me. Don't be like sending me, questions about Batista's dick or something like that. Like y'all.
Dude, that's kind of why I went to the like more to the emails and stuff like that. It takes a little more work. We regularly like one of my I look forward to like Derwin Baker every week, or I'm like, dude, when those emails come, I'm expecting like, where's my email, man? I need my email with a question, and I do my best. We get so many, but I have it go to my phone, so if I'm literally stopped between appointments and things, I can just hit reply, and I type. Sometimes it's a quick one, and I apologize, but it's usually I'm literally in my car between work appointments or something, and I just want to make a point that I do try to respond to as many of them as I can.
Don't text and drive.
I don't. Like when I'm waiting, like I said, I'll usually just do a quick reply. I'll check my emails and like, oh, I got 3 or 4, and I'll kind of respond real quick and shoot them back out. Tappedoutpod@gmail.com, at tappedoutpod on all the social media. That's all I've got, man. Anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah. Somebody will pester the shit out of me if I don't mention UWF is running a show on Sunday in Colbert, Georgia. They're going to have Richard Holiday there. So
doing a seminar,
for a show
right?
called Marketable, he's going to have a seminar. Give them a call. Check them out. UWF. They're on Facebook. And find out what they've got going on. So that's my latest news, and I got nothing else.
Oh, that's the old saying, brother. If I've got nothing, you've got nothing. What time is it?
It's time to tap out.